Donald Trump, how are you, sir?
How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. I have to ask you a question. How do you have all this energy?
I don't know.
I mean, you're up early in the morning, late at night. Aren't you getting tired?
People ask me that. Well, I had 1 hour sleep last night, and then I said, oh, well, maybe I could call Mark and say, I'll go to bed a little early. I'll say, you know what, Mark, can we make it tomorrow? But I said, I don't have the courage to call him and do that. I'll live with it.
You don't have to fear me.
I promise you I'm going to sleep right after this call. I promise. Oh, It's crazy.
But you have a new book out, Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. Right. Give me 2-3 things. How do we make America great again?
Well, we talk about the different problems that we've got in the country, whether it's the 19 trillion. Can you believe it? We're up to 19 now. It's going up to 20 very quickly. I've been saying 18 for about a year, but that was really wrong because it was going up faster than that. And, of course, we have unfunded liabilities also. But when I talk about so many of the things that we have and that we're doing wrong, like the Iran deal, which you talk about all the time because you can't even believe it. Mm-hmm. But the Iran deal with the $150 billion that we're going to hand out very shortly. The biggest problem, I like to solve problems, but by the time you get there, assuming there's a victory here, by the time you get there, Mark, that money's all gone. And probably buying nuclear. They don't have to make nuclear. They can buy it with that kind of money. So we just, I talk about the problems, and I talk about, I don't like being a critic. I like being a critic and then fixing it. And one of the things that you see, I don't know if you have a copy of the book. It's doing really well.
I do.
One of the things that I did, Simon & Schuster is the publisher, and they sent this fantastic photographer up to my office, and he took pictures. And they're really nice pictures, the best I've ever seen, and I'm smiling and happy. And there was one that was taken when I wasn't ready, and it's a horrible, horrible picture. We determined with that title, we have to use the bad picture. So I used the bad
on the front.
Right, on the front. So it's I think it's a book that a lot of people are talking about.
So there's a lot of online surveys that say you won that debate last night. And they're also giving credit to Cruz and Rubio. Do you think that's about right?
I think so. I think we all had a good night. I don't think, I would say Kasich had a hard time.
Yeah, why does he keep interrupting everybody?
I don't know. Well, and Carly really interrupts also. I got to a point where, everybody was going crazy with Carly. I kept raising my hand, and they were great. The moderators, I thought, did a really good job. But
excellent.
I raised my hand. When you're in a debate, you're supposed to be raising your hand, right? And Carly would, and she's absolutely fine, but she would just, boom, right in the middle of somebody's sentence, she'd just start talking. And it's just not really appropriate. And, of course, Kasich was doing that. But I think he had a hard time, and I thought she had a hard time, but a lot of people disagree with me on that, so whatever.
Let me ask you this. You're getting a lot of questions from the establishment media and establishment candidates saying you cannot round up 11 or 12 million people. First of all, a couple points. You don't have to round up 11 or 12 million people. If you deny them jobs and in-state tuition and driver's licenses, many of them will go home. Secondly, 40% of the people here illegally came here legally under visas and won't go home. Now, why should we give them legal status and citizenship?
That's true. And, one of the things that nobody talks about, we have millions of people trying to get into the country. They've been doing it for years. And these people are in, and now we're supposed to give them, in many cases, they want to give them citizenship, which is really crazy. I mean, I'll tell you what, the biggest hand of the entire, and you probably heard it, the entire debate the other night was when I said we will build a wall and it will be a real wall. And I also say it's going to be paid for by Mexico. Only you might understand that. Somebody said, how can you possibly do that? Well, the wall will cost $8 billion. You don't have to go the 2,000 miles. You can go 1,000 because you have so many natural barriers, etc. So it's going to cost 8, not 14 or 15, what they were saying. But here's the thing. We lose, in terms of trade imbalance with Mexico, $45 billion a year. So it's peanuts. And we also give them billions of dollars, just so you fully understand. And that's the way it is. So we will build a wall, and it will be a real wall. It'll be a Trump-type wall.
And you're going to tax them, you're saying. You're going to tax them.
No, I'm not even going to tax them. I think I'll do even better than taxing them, frankly. They have tremendous... we have so much power over China and Mexico and Japan. We're like we're the cash register. Without us, if they had the right people out there negotiating, Carl Icahn, who's a friend of mine, he endorsed me the other day. I mean, Carl will look at China and will make, it'll just happen. You can keep doing your show and enjoy yourself. Believe me, the $500 billion a year. Can you believe that, Mark? 500 billion. To be exact, 505. It's pretty sad when you round off 505. When you round off 5 billion to 500, right? So it's $505 billion of trade imbalance with China. It's $75 billion with Japan. You know, all the cars that pour into the country.
But China's economy is starting to collapse now.
It is. It's starting to do badly, which gives us much more power to negotiate.
And our economy is going to keep collapsing if we don't take all these regulations off of us.
Yeah, and I think we're probably in a bubble, too. You never know for sure, but we're probably in a bubble.
Now, explain to everybody what you mean by that.
Well, we have money that doesn't cost anything. I mean, I have, for instance, I built Doral in Miami. I own Doral. I have a mortgage that's almost free. I'm paying almost no interest. You know, usually you'd pay 5, 6, 7% interest, right? You know, in the good old days. Mm-hmm. I'm paying like nothing. I'm paying almost nothing because I get very good rates. That's the good thing. The good thing about being rich is you get good rates. The bad thing is that if you're a developer and you're not you're a really good developer, a businessman or something, and if you want money, you can't get it. That's the bad. The only people that get money are the people that don't need it. Because the regulators are running the banks. The bankers, you take Jamie Dimon, you take all of these bankers that you see, and they're all petrified of the regulators. The regulators are running the banks. It's unbelievable.
I don't think people understand. We really don't have free banks. About 80% of what they do is regulated.
Yeah. The regulators are all over. And I see it. I mean, I have friends that say, could you give me a reference to a bank? First of all, the banks have all merged now. You remember you used to have Chemical and Manufacturers Hanover Trust and Chase Manhattan Bank and all these banks, right? And, you price it out with 5 different banks, 7 banks. And now they're sort of it's just like one big monster bank that is really, and it's not one, it's a number of them. What has happened, though, is the foreign banks have come in. And the foreign banks are making a lot of money in the United States, which is, it would be nice if we had our own banks making.
You're for trade, though, right?
Yeah, totally for trade, but trade with smart negotiators. In other words, we have really dumb negotiators, Mark, and you know that. You understand that. How can we lose $500 billion with China? How can we, and this has been going on for many years, by the way. This has been going on for many years. Why do we lose that? I say that, with China, and I've used the expression over the last couple of weeks. I don't know why I just thought of it, but it's the greatest robbery in the history of the world, what China has done to the United States. They've taken our money, our jobs, our base. They've taken everything. And we've rebuilt China. Now, if you look at India, if you look at, Brazil, if you look at Japan, if you look at... We almost don't have any country that we deal with where we do well. Does that sound good to you? Does that sound prosperous?
I just think we need to really build up our country. Get all these damn regulations out of the way. All these taxes. I like your plan where you bring all this money back to America.
Yeah,
I think it would massively expand jobs and opportunities and wealth creation in this country. While the liberals are running around yakking about a minimum wage, this would create jobs and good jobs and money, and people would have it. Let me ask you this, because I don't want to lose you before this. Over the weekend or so, this Politico was coming out with these hits on Ben Carson. Now, I know you don't like Politico. You know it's a left-wing hit machine.
Right.
They've hit you. They hit all the candidates.
They hit me when I'm expecting a good story. I've been hit. I mean, it's always bad when you're expecting it. In other words, you've done something good and you get hit. That's always very disconcerting.
But a lot of the people in my audience were a little upset with you because you were using stuff they said against Carson. So what do you want to tell them?
Well, no, really using stuff that he said, though. In all fairness, forget Politico. Ben was talking about, I guess he wrote a book, probably before he thought he was going to run for office, to be honest.
25 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, but he wrote a book, and he talked about, pathological disease, and he talked about hitting his mother, wanting to hit his mother over the head with a hammer. I never had those thoughts, in all fairness, and neither did you. And, other things, hitting a friend, his best friend in the face with a padlock. That's pretty bad.
But you don't think he's mentally off, do you?
I hope not.
You don't believe that, do you?
First of all, I like him. I was with him last night. I'm standing next to him last night, and I like him.
Were you friendly to each other? We don't know.
Hard to believe. The answer is yes. I'm friendly with almost all of these guys. It's funny. You compete and you attack, and you say things that you believe are truthful, but sometimes they are pretty horrible things. And then you're standing next to him in a debate, and you're saying, "How you doing?" Jeb. I say, "Hi, Jeb. How you doing?"
Is he friendly to you?
He's very friendly. I mean, you saw where
anybody up there. You know what? I'm not trying to do gossip here, but I'm curious. Anybody up there who all of you kind of think that that guy? You don't have to answer. That guy over there, that guy.
Well,
that's a real putz.
I got along very well with Marco Rubio. That doesn't mean we're going to get along well. You understand? But I got along very well. But specifically talking about last night. It's sort of a weird feeling, you're fighting these guys and you're saying things and they're tough things, and then you're in a line with them, getting ready to walk on a stage, and you look and say, "Hey, how you doing?" I was defining Jeb as a low end. Well, I came up with this term, low energy individual, and it was I guess it turned out to be a tougher expression than I thought somehow, but. And if you are a low-energy person, you shouldn't try and be a high-energy person because it doesn't work. But, all of a sudden you're standing in line with these people and you're shaking hands and you're acting like nothing happened. It's a little bit weird, to be honest with you, but it's life.
Just watching it seems a little weird. I'll be honest with you.
No,
too.
I get along just about. I wouldn't say there's a couple of them I don't like very much, to be honest with you, Mark, but for the most part, I really like a lot of the people up there. I think, I have respect for them, and I like them, and we get along pretty well. There are a couple I don't like. I could give you someday. I'll tell you.
I'm not looking to cause trouble.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm the kind of guy I don't even care. But it's but for the most part, there are really some good people up there, and they have some talented people up there. Perhaps more importantly.
Mm-hmm. Now
they're not as talented as you, though, Mark. Nobody calls them the great one.
Okay. Hey, look, Obama named a mountain.
We need a great one to run the country.
Yes, exactly. Listen, he named a mountain after me. That McKinley he took away calls it Denali. Turns out in Native American, that's the great one. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
That's very good.
Let's talk about the Democrats now. Hillary Clinton. Honestly, I don't know what her appeal is at all. Do you?
Well, she has a new hairdo. Did you notice that today?
That's called a wig.
Is that a wig?
I think it's a wig. Nothing personal. Look, I'm not against wigs. People can wear whatever they want.
It's okay. But, I tell you what, it really was shocking to see it because you're right. It was massive. Her hair became massive.
You're going to get in trouble now.
I don't care.
Okay.
But I don't care. But no, because I'm a person that tells the truth. It was interesting to see, but I've never seen Hillary with that hairdo. I think that's an okay thing to say. But it was very different, wasn't it? Did you like it?
Don't get me in trouble now, because let me tell you, there's not much I do.
Think about it, right?
Yeah. But let me ask you, but on a substantive level, honestly, I mean, she was a disaster as Secretary of State. She did almost nothing as Senator. As First Lady, she was covering for you-know-who. I mean, why? And here she rises to the top. Why?
Well, one of the interesting things, it looks to me like the Democrats are going to protect her on the email scandal, which, in all fairness, everybody else is in jail that did that stuff, and at a much lower level. It looks to me like she's being totally protected. I mean, it looks to you that way too, I guess, right?
No, I think there is a look. This is just Mark talking. I think there's a huge cover-up going on. Totally. I think you've got the Espionage Act. You got Section 783. You don't even need to have specific intent to move this classified information around. Remember Donald Trump? First, she said there was no classified information. Right. Now it's burping up all over the place. And now she's pretending she doesn't know very much about it, or if she did, what's the big deal?
Yeah, there's never been anything like this. And, you have people going to jail for 1/100th of what she did, and she's being protected. They're not going to do anything, in my opinion. Otherwise, they would have done it already, and she's being totally protected. And when Biden didn't run, that was my, sign that, well, I guess he's not running because he knows she is running. Mm-hmm. And the way she runs is by not having this problem. This is a tremendous problem for her. She's being totally protected.
All right, Donald Trump, we appreciate it. Go get some rest.
I will. Thank you very much. Great honor. Right. Are you glad I called?
Well, of course.
I could have. I could have called tomorrow, but I didn't want to tell you I was going to call tomorrow, Mark. So anyway, keep up the good. You have such a great show. Keep up the good work, Mark.
All right, thank you. Okay. Best to you and your family. All right, Donald Trump. Now watch all the hate come in. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, you know what? I'll do what I want to do. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.